Alright, welcome back everyone. My name is Jeffrey Lee, and today we'll be talking about 1.2 of my book, The Age of Exploration and Global Trade. So first of all, the Age of Exploration and Global Trade. Before the Age of Exploration happened, many of the civilizations of the world were very discrete from each other and developed independent of one another. However, the Age of Exploration allowed these different civilizations to become more and more connected, and it was also regarded as one of the first steps toward globalization. So one impact of the Age of Discovery is that it spurred commercial prosperity. So by interconnecting the world, it required commercial innovations like joint stock companies, franchises, and capital lending to be created. It also led to different ideas being spread across the world, creating the religions and cultures that we know today. So for a bit of background on Age of Discovery, previously Europeans ran on a feudal system where basically serfs who were tied to the land served nobles or lords on a manor. However, what happened as a result of the Little Ice Age and also things like the plague meant that serfs had more power within the manor and started demanding higher pay and more rights and things like that. However, these different conflicts led these nobles to decide to try to expand to find external wealth and also expand to other countries to get their wealth instead of just remaining domestically on their manors. So the Ottoman Empire captured Constantinople in 1453, and this led them to being able to control the land-based trade routes between Europe and Asia. And so as a result, Europe, because they had to go through these middlemen of the Ottoman Empire, decided to try to find another route so that they could trade with Asia directly. So the Age of Discovery also propelled civilization, so it caused many different countries to form a diverse global trade network and facilitated the exchange of many different ideas and goods. Different things like business organization models became more developed and led to things like better understanding of the economy and things like charter companies being created, leading to more exploration overall. In addition, the different business practices also changed a lot. For instance, before this, the barter economy was much more popular, but this transitioned to the money economy instead because that was more convenient with the global trade networks. And in addition, there are things like the establishment of a ledger and tally where banks could keep track of your money, and it also made trading and of goods a lot more convenient. So global exploration of water and land routes, both of which were all important for forming the networks of exchange. Starting with water routes, water was much more convenient than land because the land, they had to cross things like mountains and ravines, which caused transportation to be much more dangerous and led to higher costs. Water could also carry higher loads compared to land, and also things like wind and ocean currents and different types of technology also made water routes much more popular, at least until the Industrial Revolution. So one such route is the Arabian route that connected the Middle East with the east coast of Africa with Japan, China, and other regions, and also weaving through Southeast Asia. So basically this route connected the Pacific and Indian Oceans, entering the Red Sea or the Persian Gulf, and in general was very important for connecting these different Asian countries. So the problem with this route, however, was that it was controlled by the Arabs and the Venetians, and as a result, the European countries like England and Spain and Portugal wanted to find routes where they did not have to deal with middlemen, and so this, despite being a water route, wouldn't work. So as a result, the Portuguese and Spanish on the Iberian Peninsula decided to find other ways to reach the eastern route. So one very important one was the Portugals going around the Cape of Good Hope, and so by going around the Cape of Good Hope, they could then access the eastern routes and the eastern countries there. And so what the Portuguese did was that they took control of the Strait of Malacca, an important trading waterway, and they also established many trading posts. They established a trading post empire throughout these different places, and also went to places going even as far as China and controlling places in China as well. And so these Portuguese control of these regions was also faced with resistance, so there was fierce competitions with Venetians, Arabs, Indians, and Egyptians that wanted access to trade routes to themselves, along with conflicts with the Spanish. However, this led to the signing of the Treaty of Zaragoza, which allowed Portuguese to control the Spice Islands. The Portuguese also discovered Brazil by accident, so what they did was that they had to sail southwest and were blown off course, and that reached Brazil in April 1500, also claiming it as Portuguese territory. So in addition, there were also western routes. The western routes, so first in 1479, Portugal was free to explore the African coast. So while Spain controlled the Canary Islands, Portugal owned many other important trading islands. In addition, the Portuguese and Spain had many treaties where they split up according to things like the Papal Meridian, allowing Spain to try to explore the Americas while Portuguese explored the East. In addition, Spain, due to the Treaty of Alcacabas, could only sail westward, and so as a result, this led to the very well-known expedition of Christopher Columbus, where he discovered the Americas and went on 3 voyages, just going to places like the Dominican Republic, Guadalupe, Puerto Rico, and Haiti, and also established Hispaniola, Spain's first colony in the Americas. In addition, England at the same time conducted western voyages, such as those led by John Cabot, and led to places like Newfoundland and Greenland, which opened up the rich fishing resources of the Northwest Atlantic. In addition, Vasco de Balboa of Spain went to Haiti in 1500, and what was significant about him was that he crossed the Isthmus of Panama and became the first European to see the Pacific from the American continent. In addition, Hernan Cortez was also another Spanish conquistador who went and overthrew and conquered the Aztec Empire and established a colony called New Spain, becoming the governor. He also explored places like Southern California and named it California and made it part of the Spanish colonies. So about the indigenous tribes that originally lived here, first the Aztec Empire was a very sophisticated and complex civilization that was unfortunately wiped out by the Spanish and the attacks of Hernan Cortez and his expedition of about 600 people. So this was due to various reasons, such as superior European technology and also the spread of European diseases like smallpox and measles. Similarly, the Inca Empire was conquered by Pizarro, and as a result, this led to the establishment of Peru, which expanded into the Amazon basin. So in addition, Spain wanted to find new routes to Asia, and this was allowed by Magellan's circumnavigation. So Magellan's circumnavigation was basically the Spain's attempt to find a new route from Asia by traveling west through the Americas. So Magellan led a fleet of 5 ships in 1519 with over 270 sailors that tried to explore a westward route to Asia. So the fleet had to go through many things and many challenges. However, they were able to find the Strait of Magellan and cross it to enter the Pacific Ocean, which was also named by Magellan. They endured a very long and grueling voyage, and the crew suffered a lot. However, eventually they landed in the Philippines in March of 1521, and unfortunately Magellan was killed by the local tribes. However, the crew continued on all the way to the Spice Islands, reaching Tidore in the Maluku Islands and loaded their ships with spices. At the end, the Trinidad had to stay behind while the Victoria sailed westward in December of 1521. So on their return voyage, they had to navigate many Portuguese-controlled waters and try to avoid being captured. In the end, they were able to make their way to Spain in September of 1522 with only 18 survivors. So Magellan's expedition was the first to circumnavigate the globe, proving the existence of a westward maritime route to Asia and significantly accelerating globalization. This voyage linked Asia, the Americas, and Europe more closely together and was very important in allowing Spain to earn more money through trading with the Spice Islands, and also led to more American silver flowing into China. So now let's talk about the Northeast Passage. So the Northeast Passage was another passage that wanted to go from across the Arctic Ocean to reach Asia through the Northeast. However, this also led to many challenges, and overall this route was actually shorter than those compared to those via the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal. So the first one of these first attempts was by Henry Hudson, who was commissioned by the British East India Company to find the Northeast Passage. So he was unsuccessful in finding the passage, but he mapped the northeastern coast of North America and discovered the Hudson Rivers. There were also different Russian explorers, such as Semyon Dizhnev, who embarked from the Kolyma River in northeastern Siberia, and being able to navigate the Bering Strait into the Pacific Ocean, discovering that the Asia and America were separated by water. There were many explorers that followed, and they were able to discover the Northeast Passage. And also, in addition, Russian Cossacks and other explorers expanded to Siberia, Kamchatka, and Chukotka, and were also able to explore the area. So there was also the North American Northwest Passage that connects the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean through the Arctic Ocean. So the Atlantic Ocean provided excellent maritime routes to the Americas and Europe or Africa. However, the elongated north-south shape with the Cape of Good Hope around 32 degrees Celsius south, and the Magellan Strait to the south at 52 degrees south. That meant they had to cross the equator, so that's why a Northwest Passage was highly valued. John Cabot, funded by England, explored Newfoundland and northeastern America, as previously mentioned, but he didn't find a route connecting the Atlantic to Pacific. However, this led to further North American explorations. Later on, Martin Frobisher repeatedly explored the North Atlantic, discovering Frobisher Bay on Baffin Island, but failing to find a northern route. Finally, John Davis explored Greenland and Baffin Island and reached Newfoundland and Cumberland Sound, but found that it was also just the bay, not a route to the Pacific, and these explorations were all very important in mapping out the area. In 1607, Henry Hudson reached Greenland and explored Cape Hakluyt and Svalbard archipelago near 80 degrees north. He also saw a route to the Far East, eventually reaching Canada and encountering fur trading indigenous peoples. He continued south, kept searching for more routes, reaching Hudson Strait and Hudson Bay. However, he was eventually killed in a mutiny and never found the passage to the Pacific. There were also many different challenges with the Northwest Passage, such as massive ice floes, cold weather, and icebound seas. Finally, in the 18th century, Captain James Cook of the British Navy explored potential routes from the Pacific to the Atlantic. So Cook's first and second voyages aimed to observe the transit of Venus from Tahiti and to search for the southern continent, respectively. His third voyage sought the Northwest Passage. In 1778, Cook discovered the Hawaiian Islands and mapped the northwestern coast of North America. However, after entering the Arctic Circle of the Bering Strait, he was forced to turn back to the ice and return to Hawaii, where he was killed in a conflict with the natives. Cook's subordinate, Charles Clerke, took over and continued exploring the Bering Strait, but died of tuberculosis, leading the crew to abandon the mission and return to England via Japan, the South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, and the Cape of Good Hope. So though Cook did not find the southern continent or the Northwest Passage, his voyage demonstrated meticulous scientific methods and human ingenuity. So his voyages were very different in that no crew members died from scurvy, and so on. Following Cook, George Vancouver explored the northeastern Pacific. So he also examined places like the Vancouver Island, the Georgia Strait, Puget Sound, and so on. However, this led explorers to decide to explore higher latitudes, and this eventually led to Roald Amundson's successful Northwest Passage journey. So the first successful navigation of the Northwest Passage was achieved by Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen. So using the information from the predecessors, Amundsen acquired a small fishing vessel and was able to find the Northwest Passage and proved its existence. Because of global warming accelerating Arctic ice melt, the Northwest Passage became navigable in September 2007, and this route is being used today, especially for larger ships unable to use the Panama Canal. So now we've talked about the sea routes, let's talk more about the land routes. So as mentioned previously, land routes could be very important from the early human beings, such as across the Bering Strait. So one of the most important networks of exchange over land is the T-Horse ancient route. So this resulted as Russia expanded eastward across the Ural Mountains and gradually occupied Siberia, bordering China. And so this route started in Fujian, China, and traveled through Jiangxi, Hunan, Hubei, Henan, Hebei, Shanxi, Liaoning, and Mongolia, reaching the border town of Kyaika for the exchange of tea and fur. And so basically this was one route between Russia and China that led to the fur and tea being traded, which we'll explore more in chapter 2. In addition, there's also the pretty well-known Silk Road, which was named because of its most traded commodity, silk. So silk was documented as a luxurious material in many Western countries and was used to showcase wealth. So that's why silk was highly valued by many Europeans, and the Silk Road was so popular. So through the Silk Road, there were caravans that transported silk, porcelain, tea, paper, gunpowder, and other Chinese goods that were highly valued by the Europeans. There were also cultural hubs like Samarkand and Constantinople that were created. There were also different religious exchanges, such as Buddhism, which was introduced to China through the Silk Roads. And in addition, there was also the spread of Christianity in China and the spread of Islam in China. Technological exchange was also made, such as paper making and printing techniques that spread from China to Europe. Scientific knowledge, such as astronomy, was also studied along with different mathematical things, along with agriculture, such as grapes, carrots, and figs, which were introduced to China, and while things like bamboo and cucumbers were introduced to Central Asia and Europe. Artistic crafts such as metalwork, glasswork, wood carvings, stone carvings, and so on were also spread through the Silk Roads. Similarly, there's also the Southern Silk Road, which connected China's southwestern regions such as Sichuan, Yunnan, with the Southeast Asia and South Asia. And similarly, this also led to the spread of different goods like sandalwood, rosewood, and so on that were imported into China, while things like silk and tea and porcelain were exported. One of the perhaps more important things was the spread of Buddhism that was spread in the Yunnan and Sichuan using the Southern Silk Road, and led to the translation of Buddhist scriptures and promoting the spread of Buddhism in China. In addition, there are also the tea fur trade routes, as previously mentioned. That was also very important, connecting Russia to China. And so the Overland Silk Road was one of the earliest passageways connecting East Asia, South Asia, Central Asia, West Asia, North Africa, and Europe. And this Silk Road was very popular because of all the highly desired commodities that were traded and led to substantial commercial profits overall. So now let's talk more about transcontinental exploration in North America. So first of all, the fur trade was obviously very important, and so Russian first trader Grigory Shelekhov would found the Russian-American Company, and for the fur trade. There were also other companies like the British Hudson Bay Company and Northwest Company that also established fur trading posts in the Columbia River region. And yeah, so the fur trade highly motivated the establishment and exploration throughout the Americas. And in addition, previously mentioned things like the Magellan Ring were also very important. And later on, we'll see in 1803, the United States purchased the entire American Midwest through the Louisiana Purchase. And the Lewis and Clark expeditions were also very important in this exploring America. So the spice route was an ancient trade route that transported spices. So this was similar to the Silk Road, connecting Southeast Asia, South Asia, Central Asia, West Asia, and Europe. And things like cultural, technological, and religious diffusion also resulted. However, in contrast to the Silk Road, the primarily traded commodity was spice instead of silk. However, both of these were all very important in spreading different ideas, different commodities, and leading to globalization. So specifically within the spice route, there's also the incense route, which is very important. So incense is a precious resin extracted from trees, specifically the frankincense tree, and it's used in many religious ceremonies and medical treatments. So as a result, the trade of it was very important for many different cultures. So the incense route began in Somalia and Ethiopia, crossing the Red Sea to Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Syria, eventually reaching the Mediterranean ports such as Alexandria and Damascus. And this also led to many sea routes as well. So frankincense was very highly valued, but this led to conflicts over resource and trade route control. For example, the Roman governor Aelius Gallus led an expedition to southern Arabia in order to control, leading to different conflicts and military conflicts. So there's also the Inca road system, also known as the Carpendon. These were a system of very sophisticated roads built by the Inca Empire, crossing the Andes and even reaching altitudes exceeding 5,000 meters. This road network stretched approximately 40,000 kilometers, roughly equivalent to even the Earth's equator, and connected a region of about 3 million square kilometers. And so this road system was very important for connecting the entire Inca Empire and ensuring that they could consolidate power and manage and administer their large empire. So yeah, that's it for today and today's discussion of the different both sea and trade routes and the age of discovery. And I'll see you next time for section 1.3.